Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What's today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this Thursday, the 28th here of September. Great game coming on tonight. Good interdivisional rival game there with Detroit and Green Bay. Now, Green Bay's got some injuries there. They're going to have to rebuild some key pieces on that offensive line. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. Going to switch it up a little bit different tonight. I will give you a fantasy team, go over last week, but also I got one over and under game and three of my picks this week that I have a lot of faith in. The top three, if you want to say, in the NFL. I'll have all those here and more. Let's go ahead and get our first and only break out of the way. Then we'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, I'm back here live. So this game tonight will be in Green Bay. Jordan Love's had a slightly better season than I thought he would. Christian Watson's been out for a while. He will be back tonight. Aaron Jones will be back tonight. But the problem is, Bakhtiari, they just put him on their left tackle. They put him on IR. And their right tackle, Eldon Jenkins, he's not going to play tonight. And their leading corner, Jar Alexander, will also be out. So fantasy-wise, if you're doing any kind of props, a guy like Amon St. Brown should have a good day. David Montgomery, he's back for Detroit as well. And their left tackle, they should play really well tonight. Detroit should win tonight. Taylor Decker, the left tackle for Detroit, is back as well. Detroit's the healthiest they've been since week 1. So I do expect them to play pretty well tonight. And Pickle says, to definitely get the win there. Now, if they don't win tonight, it's like Jeremy Balrich said, my guest I've had on here from the Detroit area, that it's a mental thing with them. It's not getting used to being successful on a consistent week by week basis. But I don't expect that to happen. I expect the Lions to win tonight. Point spread really close. I locked it in at like 1.5, minus 1.5. I think it's probably 2 right now for Detroit. It may go up as the actual kickoff happens here in about 15 minutes. Okay. You know what? Before I get into the fantasy stuff, there was a quote here by Justin Jefferson. People are starting to ask Minnesota players about next year and everything. And I got this off NFL.com. It says, following 0-3 start with 1 score loss, the social media vultures have started circling suggestion the Vikings start thinking about next season and trading off access. No surprising, Jefferson seems to be quite over the talk. I think a reporter asked Jefferson, he says about, trade talks and everything. He says, I'm tired of people saying that we're looking into next season or trades and stuff, who is set for next season in another year. And next season is the final year of his rookie deal. And Justin Jefferson. Speaking of the NFC North, right? who stumbled upon this. And, he's like, we're focused on this season. We have a lot more games to go, yada, yada, yada. There's been talk, if you had to been living under a rock, anybody in the sports world, I think it's ridiculous, but Kirk Cousins being traded to the New York Jets. That's been talked since Rodgers went down in week 1. And this talk of Jefferson, they're going to move off of Kirk Cousins. I don't think Cousins can come in and learn the Jets playbook and set the world on fire. Anybody that thinks otherwise, more power to you. Go ahead and waste some more draft capital on that instead of trying to work with what you got. I get it, and I'm not in love with Zach Wilson either. They're going to have to make another move and draft another quarterback. They're going to have to make a decision whether or not Rodgers is going to come back or not. But going back to this Minnesota Viking team, remember they traded Stephon Diggs and landed Jefferson. They're not that bad front office. They've got a new front office here. They have drafted Jordan Addison out of USC. He's not a bad receiver here. He's very young. He's still learning the ropes. But my whole thing is this team is it's practically at the bottom of every statistical category in defense. They play at Carolina this weekend. I think Carolina will have a pretty good game. I think Bryce Young will have a good game. He's going to be back, a rookie. And they give up yards. I mean, they are worse than they were last year, And Jefferson coming into the final, he is arguably, by all metrics, Pro Football Focus, yards per catch. This is with Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball. The best receiver in the game, even with everything that you're seeing. He's a taller player that you're seeing from Tyreek Hill. I'm going to get into that game in a little bit. I've got a lot to say about that game. That'll be one of the big games that I'll actually pick tomorrow with Carlos Madden or Chavez. That being said, Jefferson, even with the mediocre Kirk Cousins solid quarterback here, has got tops numbers. Okay? You're saying, why do you telling me this? Because he's going to want over $30 million in my estimation come after that rookie year. And that, trust me, next year, he's going to want that signed. He's going to want that deal done before the season starts. You can see holdouts and all that. But I'm telling you right now, you saw what Kansas City did. They're still reaping the benefits. Now, Tyreek Hill, fortunately, has played well with Miami. They're still reaping to the benefits of that. I've said this before, and I'll make it public now. I think I've said it to my friends in private. But you can get 3 first-round picks for a Justin Jefferson type of player. You really could. Go ahead and trade Cousins. Get those 3 picks, especially if this team is come up November, and this team is, I don't know, like 2-6 or something like that, which could very well be the situation. They're 0-3 now. They lost to Tampa. They could lose to Carolina on the road, even though I think Jefferson had a pretty good game against them. You could get 3. There's a sucker boy. See, a guy that's that good will sell tickets, Remember, he's off his rookie deal here. You get a team like a New York Giants or somebody. The Colts need a wide receiver. They have Anthony Richardson on he can be Anthony Richardson's A.J. Brown, right? Because that's the whole idea. They want to make the Colts like the Eagles. Shane Steichen, he's the former offensive coordinator of Eagles. You saw that they're using Anthony Richardson just like he used Jalen Hurts, which some of that I don't agree with. I've talked about that before, running that quarterback up the middle like that, like a missile. But that being said, Hurts looked really good when he had a go-to big play guy like an A.J. Brown. You throw in a Justin Jefferson in there, and with his rocket arm, you're going to sell a boatload of tickets or jerseys for one thing, Jim Irsay, and you're going to get that go-to guy for 4 or 5 years. They're easy. And you're going to have this quarterback on a rookie deal there. And of course, Pickle says, yeah, Houston has no receivers there. And they've got a Stroud there, 900 yards, no interceptions. You put on a Justin Jefferson on that team, he would go wild on that team as well. Stroud is a better, accurate, more complete player than a Richardson. But those players, maybe the Giants, somebody like that, but those two particular teams in the AFC South, the reason why I say that is because those teams, particularly more the Colts, because they have a first-round pick. It's because, but if I'm that Colts team, I'm not going to do it. But if I'm that Minnesota team, the Colts, man, so here's your generational talent right here, man. Why worry about getting Marvin Harrison Jr.? Go out and get you a Jefferson for 4 or 5 years, and it opens up the back end of that defense big time with the guy like that. And he's an indoor player. He comes from an indoor stadium. He would set Lucas Oil Stadium on fire. He would be like Reggie Wayne or Marvin Harrison type of talent, or maybe even he's compared to Randy Moss, So, and you might be able to just put that over Jim Irsay's head and say, man, you're gonna sell a lot of jerseys. You got this guy, 25 years old. I think you really could. You could get maybe 2 firsts and a second, but I think you can ask for 3 first-round picks for this guy. I really do, because the owner's thinking more than just a great player. When you have, and this is such a passing lead now, you really could, and then you could take that, go out and get you another quarterback next year, and then you could build on the defense, trade down. You've already got a receiver to build on. You've already got a good tight end. Maybe patch up, just go all defense, and maybe patch up the offensive line, throw another receiver in there. It's just food for thought. It's already been talked about because Minnesota is so bad defensively. They're terrible on the road. Terrible the way Charles Barkley would say it. Okay. So, you know what? I haven't made my mind up yet, folks. I'm going to do a fantasy team this week. This may be the last week I'll do fantasy. The reason why is daily fantasy, whether you're DraftKings or FanDuel. Last week I had Raheem Mostert. I put another lineup in. Had Raheem Mostert, 41 fantasy. Usually if you get a player that low that scores that many points, you almost automatically guarantee win money. Really. You almost guarantee to win money. And I have it. And, I was telling my dad about this last weekend, that so many people are going in fake accounts. They're using different emails. They're spending thousands of dollars. And because these leagues, these $5 leagues, they pay, $500,000, $1 million sometimes. And they're not supposed to do it, but they're doing it anyways. And it's taking out the average player, totally shifting them out, rather than when you're betting on the game. The spread may change slightly, but no matter how many people wins that bet's going to be paid off. So I haven't made my mind up yet. This week we'll put one in. There's a lot of really good games here. I'll do the fantasy, then we'll do some more gambling stuff here in just a minute here. Okay, so we'll go back and look at last week. All right, so this is the player who won last week. And, of course, you guessed it, they had some players in that. And a lot of these players are players that I mentioned, before. I mentioned the Minnesota game last week and the Chargers game. I said take Kirk Cousins or take Justin Herbert. Well, the winner, this person won $500,000. They scored Pickles 249-14. Now this was in FanDuel. If this were in DraftKings, this would have been probably close to 300 points because it's a half a point per catch. in FanDuel versus a full point in DraftKings. But this person, $500,000 bet, 249.14 points. Kirk Cousins was the wide receiver I mentioned. They had Travis Etienne, running back out of Jacksonville, going against Houston, even though they lost. I mentioned Raheem Mostert. I played him last week. 41 points to Raheem Mostert. I also mentioned the receivers in the Chargers-Minnesota game. 36 points for Keenan Allen. I mentioned wide receivers in the Houston-Jacksonville game. The Jacksonville corners are bad. They need cornerback help. This guy, last name Dale, and you saw the big long play that Stroud hit him for a touchdown. Well, the guy had 23 fantasy points, 5 catches, 145 yards, 1 touchdown. Now, he got lucky here. Put in Adam Thielen, the guy that really couldn't get open nowadays. Thielen last week had 11 catches, 145 yards, touchdown. Tank Dell. Yeah, that's it. That's it, Pickles. This guy had Adam Thielen, 11 catches, 145, and a touchdown. That was against Seattle, okay? That was against Seattle. Shark had a pretty good game, too, as well. And this Sam Paporcia, the tight end from Detroit, he could get a touchdown tonight. He had 18.4 in the Atlanta game. They beat Atlanta 20-6. Okay, and of course they had the Bills defense. 32 fantasy points against Washington. Keep that, a lot of sacks. 9 sacks against that Washington offensive line. 4 interceptions and a pick 6. And a forced a fumble recovery, 32 fantasy points by the Bills. They really played well last week. And, of course, Kenneth Walker, 29 points here. That was what the winner had last week. Compared to my lineup here, I want to say, I can't remember what I had here. And I had 114 and still lost. I mentioned McKinnon. And Javonte Williams from Denver just didn't show up like I thought he was. Jefferson, 24. Mike Williams in the same game, 21 points, toward his ACL in the Minnesota game. Calvin Ridley, total no-show. Zach Ertz, no catch, 1 catch for 6 yards. Missed on him, but I did hit on Nico Collins was a dud. But I hit on just about everybody else. But it did not pay, folks. It did not pay. There's too many people playing these games, okay? So, like I said, I'll put one in this week because I put it in the title. And this is with and like I said, these are mainly 1 o'clock Eastern to 3 o'clock Eastern games. This is where you do your main fantasy for daily fantasy. This is with FanDuel. Bryce Young, that Minnesota defense, probably one of the worst defenses in the league. They're 30th against quarterbacks. Young way down there at 6,800 is practically a steal. This Devon Atchin, 4 touchdowns yesterday, 49 points against Denver. I think he's going to have a pretty good game against Buffalo, too. I don't think there's any way you could stop this guy. He's still 6,400. David Pierce here. Pierce is a running back for Houston. Pittsburgh is 29th against the run. I guess a lot of that may be this. They played some really good running teams. They played Nick Chubb. They played Christian McCaffrey. But I'll say this. Pittsburgh, they went to Vegas last week, went back to Pittsburgh. Now they got to go to Houston. So I do think Pierce have a pretty good game at 6,300. Tyreek Hill, I don't think as good as Buffalo is. Looking back, even in the snowy games against Buffalo, there's nothing I don't think they can do with Tyreek Hill, man. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Chad. So Tyreek Hill, even at his cost. By the way, Buffalo, Orchard Park, I had a Buffalo native on yesterday. John Restano, great guest here. It's going to be 76 degrees, clear, no wind, two red hot offenses. Even though it's a divisional game, two red hot offenses playing, especially Miami in that Buffalo game. I've got Tyreek Hill. I think Hill is going to have a great game. 26 points, 39 in week one. I mean, he is just on fire, Pickles. Okay, now Jamar Chase here. Jamar Chase, 141 yards, 12 catches going against Tennessee. Tennessee 29th against the pass. He's going to have 12 to 14 passes against Tennessee again. You cannot, and as I said, Amari Cooper against Tennessee, he had 20 fantasy points, 20 fantasy plus. I mentioned that last week he would have a good game against Tennessee. Take your lead. So I think Chase is going to have a big game against Tennessee. I think he'll score again, over 150 yards. He actually may have a better game than he did against the Rams at 9,600. So I went very heavy receiver. Tutu Atwell, the Colts here. Tutu Atwell is averaging 9 targets a game. Scored again last week here. I like this other guy, Akua, but he's banged up. Puka Nakua, whatever. Puka Nakua for the Rams. The Rams, they're actually underdogs in this game. The Colts, we saw what they gave up to Calvin Ridley, Nico Collins. They called a break there. Again, playing in somewhat of a rainy game against a Lamar Jackson. But Jackson had a decent game, but they still beat him. This Tutu Atwell guy, inside, very fast, really small. Colts 26th against the pass. I think they will have a great game. Dalton Kincaid, I expect now, Kincaid is averaging about 4 to 5 targets a game at tight end. He's the rookie. I'm looking for a breakout game. When you got two divisional rivals playing each other, always look for the odd man out because they know each other really well. This rookie, he was a first-round pick for Buffalo. He was a highly sought-after tight end from University of Utah. I got a feeling he's going to be the big play guy for the Buffalo Bills in that massive game coming up Sunday against the Dolphins. Dalton Kincaid, not the other guy. Not, I can't remember his name now. Your main guy at tight end. And I do not think that, even though I know that Diggs will get his Knox, Dawson Knox, I think he could get his, but I think this guy could be the odd man out, and I think he'll score next week. Dalton Kincaid. Flex, Alvin Kamara. This is his first game back from suspension. Yeah, Dawson Knox. Yeah. Alvin Kamara first came back since suspension. Hasn't played a game this year. He's playing Tampa, a team that played a very physical game against the Eagles on Monday night here. Okay, so Kamara at home. There's no Derek Carr. Probably going to have Winston in there, and he's going to get a lot of carries, man. 22 carries, something like that. Very fresh running back, playing a defense that played on Monday night. And he's very cheap for Alvin Kamara, $6,500. I expect him to have a huge game Sunday against Tampa at home. And the Phillies defense I just mentioned, they're doing a lot of good things with the Commanders, but they're not blocking really well. And Sam Howell's holding on to the ball too much. Jalen Carter is the odds-on Rookie of the Year favorite, the defensive tackle for the Eagles. I took that Eagle defense 9 sacks last week to the 9 sacks to the Buffalo Bills. They play Washington. Washington could win the game. They could upset them, but that doesn't mean that Carter and that front 7 and that front 4 are not going to get multiple times to Sam Howell. They're just too good up front, man. They are just too good. So that's the team I have. Like I said, those games that I mentioned, No weather situations there. It's going to be pretty nice everywhere. Here in Nashville, we got a lot of rain today. But Sunday, everything looks good. It looks very good. Very good. So anyways, here we go. All right, now let's talk about wagering. All right, been looking forward to this. Buffalo and Miami. Now, this is a game that I expect a lot of scoring, okay? I will be breaking this game down. The over and under this game is 53.5. Keep that. This rounded up to 54, right? Well, I've got a list of the last 10 matchups these two teams have played, the Bills and the Dolphins. Listen to this. Listen to these scores here. I just mentioned weather's going to be great. Wind, 5 miles an hour, 77-degree weather. Both offenses relatively healthy. Jalen Waddle's back. I just mentioned this Devon Achane plus Raheem Mostert. We talked about guys like James Cook on the other side. We know about Gabriel Davis, Stephon Diggs, the two tight ends. This is going to be a pretty high-scoring game, even though the defenses are playing better. Go back to January. January the 15th in the cold. Buffalo barely edged past Miami 34-31. So that is ahead of that 54, okay? December 17th, 2022, another cold day. It was snowing up there. They were throwing snowballs at Tyreek Hill as he scored a touchdown, 32-29. That would be 61 for those of you. Now, back in September, very hot day. This was the game where Tua got hurt. Miami got the win. They won 21-19. That's under 54, right? But you go back to 21, 26-11. That was under 54. 35-0. That was when Buffalo was dominating. They knocked the quarterback out early. But go back to January of 21, 56-26. September 20th, 2020, 31-28. Essentially, 7 out of the last 10 games, guys. These scores have been over 53.5. They've been over 54 points. I think with the firepower in both of these teams, maybe I'm wrong this time. Maybe I know Tre'Davious White's playing well, but I did read that Poyer might not play, the safety there. But other than that, they look pretty good. But Miami's red hot right now. Buffalo going to play the short game, but they know they have to score. I think this goes over. This is one of my bets of the week here, one of my top 3 that I feel like it is really going to go in that direction. 7 out of the last 10. No major snowstorm, no major wind, no major injuries. These are going to be 2 well high-tuned offenses. They may try to fill each other out early, but then it's just going to be boom, bam, boom, bam. I mean, not to mention the fact that last week Miami scored 70 points against Josh Allen had 46 yards and a touchdown last week, Pickles. You know, he didn't have a great game against Washington. The defense had a great game. But still, I do think that he will play pretty well, but I think Tua will probably play a little better. But I haven't made that final decision yet. I do think it will go over for sure. That's what I'm saying. So that's one of my bets of this particular week here. 54. 7 out of the last 10 that these two teams have played have went over, folks. Okay? Yeah. All righty. Sparks will fly back on you, baby. Okay. Here's another weird one for you. Jacksonville will be playing in London versus Atlanta. Okay. Jacksonville is the most traveled NFL team to London in the league. Anybody that's watched this league knows it's not even close. It's not even close. We played some sound bites earlier from Doug Peterson. I played some sound bites earlier this week. Doug Peterson really ticked off Houston. Houston with a rookie quarterback. Second or third game for C.J. Stroud. Offensive line injuries and no real big name wide receivers. That's why I said I would try to trade Jefferson and get a boatload of picks. Talking about Minnesota earlier. But they got humiliated. Absolutely humiliated by this Houston team. And Peterson says, listen, this whole idea that it's early, that went out the window yesterday. We've got to play better. And Atlanta has went with Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith's been the coach for about 3 years now. His first year, Arthur Smith, they did go to it. They did go to London, but they didn't go last year. Okay, they don't usually go, but those players are practically not with the team. That was with Matt Ryan. That was with Matt Ryan when they played the Jets in London. The Atlanta Falcons very rarely go to London. This is a huge, not somewhat of an advantage. They're 6 hours ahead of us here in America. They're 6 hours ahead. The time zone is going to be jacked up. There's so many new young players. There's Dennis Ritter. Dennis Ritter has not won a road game yet. They were beat 20-6 by Detroit last week. So they flew to Detroit, lost to the Lions. Then they had to fly all the way. They had to fly all the way to London. Jacksonville, they're ticked off here. Calvin Ridley had a bad game. By the way, Calvin Ridley used to play for Atlanta. He's going to really want to stick the team. They traded him. He's want to stick it back to Atlanta. Jacksonville is one of those teams. Some people are picking them to go to the AFC Championship game, the Super Bowl. I picked them to win this division. They need this game like nobody's business. And Ritter going against that Jacksonville pass rush, although he'll get a few off because their secondary ain't that great. I expect Jacksonville to win this game like 27 to 16 or something like that. And they're going to cover that 3-point spread there, folks. So, and you ask about weather in that game, 73, mostly cloudy in the UK. Atlanta's got a much better defense. Atlanta's defense is not that good on the road. They've shown it again this year. They were beat 20-6. The problem is they can't move the ball on the road. I mean, I got the box scores right here. Ritter's is a good chance he could get benched in this game. There is a very good chance that he could get benched in this game. I really like Jacksonville, the team who is I'm trying to think who their backup is. They have a well-known backup. Don't be surprised if Taylor Heineke is not playing in this game. That's what I think that Arthur Smith is looking at this like. We got a lot of players, Bajan Robertson. Robertson's never been to London. Players that's never been there before do not play well. I've watched this trend for a long time. Yeah. Hasn't won on the road yet. Yeah, Desmond Ridder hasn't won. This is the road game of road games. This is across the pond. And, I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked if Lawrence and Jacksonville do not play extremely well in this game, folks. I really would be. Now, this next one, this one's interesting here. Okay. But the Rams are actually underdogs against the Colts. Okay. We know the Rams went on the road. I told you all this. I predicted it. Cincinnati, very desperate, would win this game, even with a banged up, even a backup quarterback or a banged up Joe Burrow. Okay. But the Rams have played, they had the lead in that game. Cincinnati has a defense that's got to two AFC championship games and a Super Bowl the year before last. Okay. Really well coached. Really well coached. But they just got past the Rams. The Rams put, 23, 24 points on San Francisco. Now they're playing the Colts against a rookie quarterback. Supposedly he's passed all his Richardson has passed all his concussion protocol stuff. He's going against Aaron Donald, but the problem is I don't think Quentin Nelson has not practiced all week. That's their best offensive lineman. He hasn't practiced all week, and they're underdogs in this game. This Rams team, okay. And this Colts secondary is 21st against the pass. All right. I think the Rams win this game. I don't see, I could see maybe Richardson catching them off guard a couple times, but I also see Richardson possibly throwing an interception, maybe two. Remember, they beat the crap out of Seattle in week 1. Went up there and mopped Seattle in week 1. But, if you got a guy like now they're going to give up some points. The Rams will give up some points. But I got them with an outright win. I mean, I think they'll probably win 27-23 Rams. Like I said, I want to say they're like, let me go back and look at this real quick. I want to say they're like 2-point underdogs. Now, it may have changed since I started putting all this in, but I doubt it. Yeah, 1.5. Rams are 1.5 underdogs to the Colts now. Like I said, Richardson supposedly coming back. Maybe if they had Minshew, they have a better chance. Richardson's going to be running up the middle a lot. With Donald there, they'll have some success. Not going to have a much. This team needs another true number one receiver. Pittman's okay. He's not great, though. He's not great. They're going to try to run the ball, keep everything on the ground. Had a pretty good running game last week. By the way, physically, they might have won that game, but teams don't usually play well after playing Baltimore, too. But they're going against a veteran quarterback and a really good scheme artist there, offensive scheme artist there with Sean McVay. I do think that the Rams will play well and win this game as underdogs. I was really surprised that they were underdogs in this game. So those particularly really stand out. This is one I did not mention, but I will say this. John did make a good point about Denver. I want to say they're 3.5-point favorites. I didn't put this in the list, but it's a bonus because I've got some more time left here. That I think that he's probably right. With the bad defense of Chicago, and as bad as Denver got beat last week, giving up 70 points here, you got a likely future Hall of Fame quarterback with his resume. You've got probably a Hall of Fame head coach there in Sean McVay going against the team in total disarray. Both of them got blown out. I think that that's a bonus one, but that's not a lock like those other three. Very good chance Denver goes up there and bounces back and plays well because they got humiliated so bad. 70 points. That is like Portland State versus Oregon. That's not even like a beatdown in college, So those are some particulars to look at here. And by the way, so tomorrow I'll have Carlos, Mad New Yorker Chavez come in here. I've been monitoring. We'll talk about the biggest games of the week. We'll make a prediction on Miami and Buffalo. I'll tell you that right now. We'll talk about teams like that. Tennessee, I think, because a lot of people like myself picking Cincinnati to get back to the Super Bowl in the preseason. Aaron Rodgers, he's consulting Joe Burrow. They're talking back and forth on how to deal with this calf. Basically, tell him not to make some of the mistakes I did and mess around and tear your Achilles. I think that's what he's trying to do. But Tennessee, there's a report today out of Dan Graziano, who is a senior NFL reporter for ESPN, believes that Will Levis will be the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans come November. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if he could stay healthy, but I think they're looking for a spark in this team. I think they will be better. Sonorski, by the way, this guy had his appendix taken out. Told you this yesterday. A couple of weeks ago, he still hasn't practiced. And that is not good for Tennessee. Going against Sam Hubbard, we saw how Tennessee got totally demolished by the Cleveland Browns last week. The Browns are another good play this week going against Baltimore. That defense is going to be good. But this report's saying that possibly, which I'm not surprised, because I think Tennessee, there's a good chance that this team could be like 2-4, 1-5. They could be kind of in the cellar too, and they want to try a new quarterback as well that could move around. I'm not too sold on his health. Pickle says he'd take Willis over Levis because Willis is a better athlete, but he can't hit the open man. You know, he is horrible as a passer. Levis is much better passer, but the thing about Levis is the guy can't stay healthy. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Sam Bradford, the way he's getting getting injured and nobody's even hitting him. So that's a game that we'll break down tomorrow here. We may break down that Cleveland Browns Baltimore Raven game. There's a possibility Watson's got a shoulder problem. He might not die. I didn't see him get hurt last week, but you never know, man. These games get really physical in the trenches here. We'll probably talk about that as well. So go ahead and end the show now, folks. We'll go ahead and because I want to get on here and watch this game as well and catch up with it. But if you like the show, share the show. Again, we'll be back on tomorrow around the same time, same place. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central here on Sports Scope.